Okay, so this is going to be a fun one, so let's get going. As you can see in my layers panel, I have 5 images lined up here. To turn the visibility on and off on a layer, just go ahead and tap the eyeball next to the thumbnail. Okay, so this first image here is just an autumn leaf that I folded up and tied off with a bit of grass, and that is going to be our boat. Let's see, next up we have some mossy rocks, some moss and mushrooms, our fearless boat rider, and we have a lady slipper orchid that I'm going to turn into a magical glowing lantern. All right, go ahead and turn the visibility off for these top 4 layers here. And what I want to do is I want to cut out this leaf boat. Okay, so with the bottom layer selected here, all you have to do is tap on a layer to select it, okay? And whichever one is highlighted is the one that you'll be working with. I'm going to make sure that my bottom layer is selected, and then I'm going to hit Command or Control J to duplicate that layer. All right, now I'm going to come down here to the bottom layer here and tap on that title, and I'm going to change the title to Leafboat BG, okay, for Leafboat background. All right, come up to the next one here. I'm going to tap on that one. All right, and then we'll just call this one Leafboat for now, although we are going to separate this into Leafboat front and Leafboat back. All right, so let's cut out this leafboat. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit P for pen tool. All right. You can also come over here to your tools panel and select pen tool. There's lots of ways to cut out objects in Photoshop. It doesn't matter what method you choose. Just make sure that you have cut it out and you are using layer masks when you do it so that you have a non-destructive cut. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Command or Control plus a few times and just really zoom in here. Okay. I'm going to hold down spacebar and then click and drag. Okay, so notice when I hold down spacebar, my pen tool is changing to my hand tool. All right, if I hold down spacebar, I can click and drag. All right, and what I'm doing is I'm moving the whole canvas around. I am not moving an individual image. Okay, I'm moving the entire work area. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just come up here and pick a spot, and I'm going to click. All right, then I'm going to come down a little bit and I'm going to click and drag. Okay, so let's talk about what happens when you click and drag. Okay, so when you click and drag, okay, the dragging lets you add curves. Okay, when you add a curve, if you let go and you click again, it'll actually balance out that curve. Okay, and that can be extremely useful. Okay, and we'll probably use that a lot, but that can also get in the way. So let me show you how you get rid of that. I'm going to hit Command or Control Z once to undo that. Okay, so now we're back to our original curve. If you hover over your last point, okay, hold down Alt or Option and click, it'll cancel out that last curve handle. Okay, and now check it out. See that? The curve has been canceled out. Okay, so I'm going to hit Command or Control Z a couple of times to get back to the beginning. Okay, and I'm going to use that technique that I just showed you. So I'm going to come over here and just go click and drag, like so. Okay, click and drag. All right. You can see right here it's a little bit of a curve. I can come down here and go click and drag and catch most of that area just fine. Although what I'm going to do now is hold down Alt or Option and click that point, and then I can reset like so and just do more click and drags. Okay, another thing that I'm going to be using as I cut this out is, let's say I come down here and I accidentally come in a little bit too close. I can use my arrows actually and move that around. See that? Okay, so that's all I'm going to do is click and drag, hold down Alt and Option and cancel out curves whenever I want to, and I can also use my arrows. Okay, I'm going to go around this entire leaf like that, every single spot that I want to keep, and come right back to this point right here. Okay, there's no point in showing you every single one of these clicks, so I will meet you in the future. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end here, and just a couple more clicks. All right, that didn't even take that long, but I figured I'd spare you. I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. All right. So when you get to the end here, I'm going to click right here and I'll do a nice little click and drag just to get that last curve in. All right, and I'm close enough. We are going to be so zoomed out. Okay, this will be just fine. Speaking of, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out now. You can hit Command or Control minus a few times to zoom out. You can also hit Command or Control 0 and zoom out all the way just like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make this a selection. There's a couple of ways you can do this. Now, you can actually right click, all right, and choose Make Selection. You can also come up here and just select Selection, all right. And then what I'm going to do is make sure that feather radius is set to 0, can leave this anti-alias checked, new selection is just fine, and I'm going to hit OK. And now that we have those marching ants, I'm going to go ahead and make this a layer mask. So down here at the bottom, this little rectangle with the circle in it, I'm going to click on that, and that creates a mask, okay? Now, it looks like it didn't do much, but if we turn the visibility off for the layer below it, check it out. We have nicely cut this out. But we didn't just cut it out by deleting all of the background around it. What we've done is we've created a mask, all right? And the nice thing about masks is that they are non-destructive. What that means is that we can easily edit our selection if we need to. Now, how masks work is with the mask selected, okay, see there's a white bounding box around the mask thumbnail. If I click over here, now the image is selected. If I click over here, now the mask is selected. With the mask selected, the color black paints on transparency, and the color white will actually paint your pixels back. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and hit B for brush, okay? And then I'm going to hit my left bracket to shrink my brush down, okay? You can also come over here and open up your brush panel and adjust your size right here. I tend to hit my left and right brackets to increase the size, okay? I'm going to make sure that black is selected, and I can just paint out some of this image. All right. Now, I'm going to make sure that white is selected. I can hit this little left and downward facing arrow right here and toggle foreground and background color. I can also just hit X to toggle back and forth between my foreground and background color. Okay. So with white selected, I can actually paint those pixels back in like so. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command or Control plus a few times to get way up in here. I'm going to hit left bracket and really shrink down my brush size. All right, hold down spacebar and move around here to a spot. So let's see if I can find a spot right here that could use a little bit of adjustment. Okay, yeah, right there actually. That's a nice little example. See how I actually went in too far right here, and there's a little spot right there that's transparent. All right, well, I can just shrink my brush down, make sure that my layer mask is selected, make sure that white is selected, and I can just paint that back like that, okay? If this area here looks a little too dark, I can hit X and change to my black, and I can shave some of that area off like that, all right? And if I decide that I do too much like that, I can hit X, change the foreground color as being white, and paint those pixels back. All right, so non-destructive editing. Okay, so that is going to be one of the keys to doing this. All right, I'm going to hit Command 0 or Control 0 to zoom all the way out. And there we have our boat nicely cut out using a mask. What I'm going to do now is make sure that that layer, the leaf boat layer, is selected. Then I'm going to hit Command or Control J and duplicate. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to double click on that title, and we will change this one to Leaf Boat Front. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to cut out the front of the boat. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing that we were doing before. So I'm going to hit P for pen tool. All right, and then I'm going to hit Command or Control plus and zoom way in here. And I'm going to cut out the boat. Okay, so all I need to do now is just remove these back parts here. So I'm going to remove this. Oh, this part right here. This part right here, I'm going to leave this because this is the front, okay, this fold right here, but we're going to get rid of this, and yeah, we'll probably get rid of this too. Actually, I'm going to leave that. I think that'll be just fine. If I want to go in and shade that a little bit, I can do that. All right, but we'll cut out this whole area right here, okay? Yeah, and that'll do it. Okay, so I'm going to cut out this one first. All right, so let's see. This front here makes a nice sharp point right there. So I'm going to go ahead and start right there, okay, just to make sure I catch that. And click and drag, same thing. Click and drag, all right. And then out here, I don't need to follow this because this is all going to be transparent. So I can just do a couple quick clicks like that. Click right there. And I'm just going to zip around this thing real quick, and I'll meet you at this point right here in the future. And there we go. Okay, so what I want to do now is we'll make this a selection. So I'll just come up here and hit Selection, and we'll hit OK. Okay, and now that we have our marching ants, all I have to do is come over here and select my layer mask. I'm going to go ahead and turn the leaf boat layer off below. Okay, so I only have the leaf boat front layer visible. I'm going to make sure that the layer mask is selected, not the thumbnail image, but the layer mask, okay? And then all I have to do is add black, okay? So I can hit B for brush if I want to. And then make sure that black is my foreground color right here. Again, you can just hit X to toggle between foreground and background. And you can paint on transparency like that. Notice that I can paint outside the selection and only paints inside the selection. Okay, so that's great. You can also hold down Alt or Option and just hit Delete, and that will paint the whole inside of your selection with black. All right, or with your foreground color, I should say, which in this case is black. All right, now that that is done, I'm going to go ahead and hit Command or Control D to deselect those marching ants. Then I'm going to move over here and I'm going to cut out this one again. So I'm going to hit P for pen tool, and I'm going to just tap somewhere right in here like so. And then I'm just going to start clicking and dragging once again and cut out this back area right here. Okay, and then I'll meet you in the future. All right, jumping back in here, there's no need to actually follow this because this all is going to be transparency anyway. And so I'm just going to do some big clicks like that, save some time, get over like so, and I'll just tap right there. All right, I'm going to come up here and hit selection again. Make that selection, and since black is my foreground color, I can just hold down Alt or Option and hit Delete. There we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control or Command D to deselect. And I'll hit Control or Command 0 to zoom out. There we go. We're looking pretty good. We've got 2 more spots to do. This spot here and this little bit right here. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same exact thing you just saw me do. So there's no reason to actually show you that. So I'll just meet you in the future. All right, and there we go. So now we have the front of the boat, the back of the boat, and the background, and they are all separate layers so that we can control the color, lights, and shadows of each one of these separately. And we can also easily place our rider inside of the boat because the front of the boat and the back of the boat are now separate layers. All right, so moving on, I think what we'll do next is we will actually cut out the boat rider because that's going to be, we're going to use the same exact technique to cut out the boat rider. So we might as well do that one next. Okay, so with my layer selected here, I'm going to go ahead and hit Command or Control plus to zoom in, hold down space bar. Just look at those muddy paws. All right, and I'm going to move over here, something like that. And I'm just going to get close, okay? We're going to shrink down the rider so it fits in the boat. And so you just need to get close and it'll totally sell. So I'm going to go ahead and just click and just click and drag. Oops, I'm going to use my arrow and get a little closer there, okay? It's okay if I come in a little bit. In fact, it's probably preferred just so that we don't have any of the rocks or leaves showing. And like I said, we're going to be shrinking this rider down so much that it doesn't matter if we're not really getting like the fuzziness of the fur here, because you won't be able to see it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'll meet you down by the feet. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to meet you down here by the feet is first off to show off these awesome shoes, but also because the feet are not going to be visible because our rider is going to be down inside of the boat. So we can just go like this, right, and just tap around. Okay, we don't have to, this part doesn't actually have to be very accurate at all. All right, just because it's not going to be visible. So there's no point in taking our time with that. All right, so now I'm back on track here, and I'm just going to keep clicking and dragging close enough to the edge to get a good cut, and I will meet you in the future. Okay, so coming on to the last point here, I'll just connect those, come up here and make my selection just like last time. Now we have our marching ants. I'll go ahead and hit Command or Control 0 to zoom out. And there we go. So I'll come over here, make sure that my layer is selected. Come down here and select Layer Mask again. That is the rectangle with the little circle icon, and just click on that. And there we go. Our rider has been cut out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Command or Control plus and zoom in here and come down here to the hand. All right, because there's a few spots in here we still need to deal with. I don't actually have to use the pen tool for this if I don't want to. So what I think I'm going to do is just make sure that the layer mask is selected and select B for brush. All right, I'm going to hit my left bracket to make my brush really small. You can also come up here to your panel here and change the size right here. Okay. All right, and I have a nice round brush selected. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let's see, we'll zoom in here. I'll go ahead and make my brush a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to paint like so and just get a nice cut out right here, like so. I'm going to go around with a small brush first just to do a nice detail, like so. And then I'll increase the brush size to paint the middle out. All right, just like that. There we go. It's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and hit my right bracket and make my brush a little bigger and just paint this area out like so. Okay, so we got a couple more spots here, so I'll come in here and just paint this area out like so. Make my brush a little smaller. All right, and I'll get this spot too. We'll never see this with how zoomed out it is, but we might as well just get it. All right, like so. All right, I think that's it. Oh, I think there's a little bit right there. It's not going to matter, but let's do it anyway. All right, and Command or Control 0 to zoom out. There we go. All right, that is looking good. So now let's go ahead and size up our rider here. So I'm going to go ahead and select my Move tool. Okay, you can also just hit V to select your Move tool. And I'm going to hit Show Transform Controls up here. Just tick that little box. Okay, you can see we have our box around our rider. I'm going to hit Command or Control minus and zoom out a little bit. And then I can just come up here to one of the corners, all right, and just click and drag, and I can change the size. And let's see, probably something like, maybe like that. And that's looking pretty good. I want the hands to be visible so that when we have our lantern, you can kind of just see the hands being lit up. So something like that will probably work. So I'm going to go ahead and you can hit this check mark up here, or you can just hit enter or return to commit to that size change. And then what I'm going to do is come over here and I can click and drag the layer, and I'll move that below the leaf boat front. Okay, there we go. So our rider is in there. And actually that, let me go ahead and zoom in here a bit. That's looking pretty good right there, I think. Yeah, and we'll kind of put the, maybe I'll move them over. I'm using my arrow keys right now, okay? Something like that. I just want to make sure that the hand is visible, because I just think it'll be neat to have a few points like the face and the hands where the light will be hitting. And then the lantern we'll actually put like right here, okay? Yeah, there we go. That's great. Okay, let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit more. I like that. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to uncheck Show Transform Controls, just get rid of that bounding box. Loving it. Okay, this is going to be so fun. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the Moss Rocks layer here. I'm going to make sure that the Moss Rocks layer is selected. Let's see. Make sure my Move tool is selected. And right now I have Auto Select off. Okay, yours might be on or off. And let me show you. That might, if I move this out of the way by clicking and dragging, if Auto Select is on, whichever one you click on here, that's the one. See how over here you click on it and then that layer is selected? Click on it, that layer is selected. I'm going to turn that off for now, okay? That might be on or off for you. And I'm going to make sure my Moss Rocks layer is selected. I'm going to click and just drag this up to the corner. Something like that. Yeah, something like that. Okay, great. I just want a little bit of this rock sticking out right here, and we'll just kind of blend it in. And this is going to be a night scene, so it should be pretty easy to sell this. So let's see here. I'm going to come down here and make sure the Moss Rocks layer is selected, and then I'll select Layer Mask again, that rectangle with the circle, make a mask. I'm going to hit B for brush. All right. Make sure that black is my foreground color. Hit my right bracket and kind of increase the size a bit. Come up here and make sure that I have a soft brush. So hardness turned down to 0. That will give me a nice feathered edge on my cut. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. If I come in here like that, see how it's like a soft cut? All right, if I make a hard edge, see how it's a hard cut? Okay, I'm gonna hit Command Control Z and undo that. All right, make sure that I have a soft brush. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna soften this edge up like that, just to blend it in, okay? Like so. And then I have a straight line right there, so I'm gonna get rid of that. All right, just something like that, all right? And as we cover this with light and shadows and all of that, I think this will sell just fine. Something like that. Okay, and that's just gonna give us like a nice spot to have the orange light bouncing off of too, like this corner right here. I think that'll look really neat. Okay, so let's do the other side now. So I'm gonna go ahead and come up here to the mushrooms and moss layer here, and I'm gonna hit V for my Move tool. Okay, you can also just come up here and tap on your Move tool in your tools panel, and let's see, I'll kind of move this over where I want it. I'm gonna come up here and hit Show Transform Controls, And I'm going to have to just stretch this out a little bit. So I'm going to take a corner and click and drag and just make sure that it's covering the top and bottom where I want it. That's going to work. And then you can hit your check mark right here or just hit enter or return to commit to that size change. All right. Looking good, looking good. Okay, and so I'm going to cut this out again with the pen tool, but we're going to have to actually refine our selection to retain the fuzziness, okay? Just like when you cut out hair or fur in Photoshop, all right? We're going to do that same thing and cut out the moss to make it, you know, just that nice organic fuzzy edge, okay? So the first thing that I'll do is I will hit P for pen tool. Okay, so I don't think I need to include this little bit of lichen right here, so I'm just going to click up here and then just click and drag, and I just need to get close to the edge. It does not have to be right at the edge at all. All right, and I'll just come down here like this, and once I get to the mushrooms, I'm just going to do a couple of big clicks and avoid the mushrooms, okay, because I want to come in there and do a more detailed cut with them later. All right, and then again, just somewhere down here like that. That'll look just fine. And then just do some big clicks around the edges like so. Once this is connected, I'll come up here and I'll hit Make Selection. And then I'll hit OK. So now we have our marching ants here, and that's looking good. So I'll come over here and I'll just select layer mask again and create a layer mask. All right, so as you can see, this does not look very good, right? Because we need a really nice, soft, fuzzy edge, okay? So what I'm going to do is with the layer mask selected, I'm going to come up here and I'll hit select and mask. All right, so now if yours doesn't look red, okay, in the view mode up here, you have all these different options, okay? All right, what I'm going to do is though, is I'm going to keep it on the overlay, okay? Because I like this, I like working with this one quite a bit. Okay, and then make sure that refined edge tool is selected. Okay, you have a bunch of options here. Just make sure the second one down, that is your refined edge tool, is selected. Okay, and make sure that you have your plus up here selected. The toggle between plus and minus, okay, which is add and subtract. You can hold down Alt or Option. See that? Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come near the edge here, and I'm just going to paint down the edge that I want to be softer, like so. Okay, and I'm going to stop right here. I'm not going to worry about the mushrooms. I'm going to deal with that later. So I'm just going to come down here and kind of soften up that selection like that. Does not have to be perfect at all because we are going to be making this scene very, very dark. It's just that completely straight edge is not going to work for moss. Okay, I think we can just leave everything else at default settings, and I'll go ahead and just hit OK. All right, see how that softened that up? Okay, that's nice. Okay, that's going to work great. And like I said, it does not have to be perfect at all. It's just we're going to make this such a dark scene. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and move this out of the way a little bit. I'm going to hit V for Move Tool. And I'm going to go ahead and just move this selection out of the way a bit. Really just something like that. I just want... You know, kind of like our boat riders coming through some kind of a mossy canyon or something like that. I don't know. And then I'll make sure that the layer mask is selected. I'm going to hit B for brush, right? I'll make sure black is my foreground. I'm going to shrink it down, okay, by hitting left bracket. And I'll hit Command or Control plus and zoom in here. And there's a few spots in here that I think I want to clean up a little bit, okay, just like that. Make sure that you have a very soft brush, so hardness 0. All right, just a little bit here and there. All right, okay, like so. Obviously missed right there, so I'll just kind of soften that up. That'll be just fine. Then we'll tackle the mushrooms here in a moment. I just want to make sure that this is, there we go. Yeah, maybe a little bit right there. Could have been a little bit tighter. I think the rest is going to be just fine. Okay, again, we're going to darken this up, put a vignette around it and all that. So, let's see, scoop that out. I'm going to go ahead and just use the pen tool on this, okay, and get a nice tight cut. So I'm going to hit P for pen tool. I'm already on my layer mask layer over here. That's selected. And somewhere in here, I don't know, maybe I'll start right here. Just kind of get down like that. Yeah, just go around this mushroom. All right, this mushroom's kind of fuzzy, but that's okay. Like that. I'm going to use my arrows and move like that. I'm going to go ahead and hold down Alt Option, cancel that curve handle, just get close like so. All right. And let's see, I think I'll just jump across like that, and then I'll come back in with a brush and soften that up here in a moment. I'm just going to go around this mushroom. Looks like we have a little spider web on the mushroom there. Gonna lose that in the cut though, I think. All right, like so. Using my arrow keys to kind of place my points exactly where I want them. Clicking and dragging, holding down Alt or Option. All right. Definitely want to get these gills. I think in the end here, it'd be cool to make these gills glow. All right. Or actually, maybe we'll make the whole mushroom glow. All right. Cool. Could be cool to actually add some like sparkly spores or something too. I'm assuming this is part of the mushroom right here. Kind of come down like that. All right, I'm just going to jump over here like that. Do a couple quick taps like so. Come up here and hit Make Selection. Hit OK. Then hold down Alt or Option. Make sure black is my foreground. Hit Delete. There we go. I'm going to hit Command or Control D to deselect. I'm going to hit B for brush. Make sure black is selected. Shrink my brush down and just kind of come in here and clean this up a little bit like so. Down in here as well. Yes. And looks like I missed right there. That's good enough. Yeah, for now, I think that's going to work just fine. Yeah, okay. Loving the idea of making these gills glow, or maybe making like light coming off the mushrooms or something like that. All right, I'm going to hit Command or Control 0. Boom. Awesome. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and cut out our lantern next. Okay, last cut. Okay, lady slipper. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that visibility on for that. And we're going to cut this out. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to use the pen tool again. Let's see. We could actually come up here and hit the our magic wand here too. Okay, you can also hit W. And by the way, when you hit like W or P, I'm going to hit W again. If the tool is not showing, because you know if you click and hold down, you can open up the window here and get more choices. You can always hold down Shift and then tap the letter, in this case W, and toggle between all the different tools in the tool panel for that particular selection. All right, so with the magic wand selected, I could actually hit Select Subject. See that? And it gets pretty close, okay? And that's great, actually. You know, we didn't get the tips here, didn't get that tip. Did not get the stem at all, but that's pretty good. All right, but I think I would just end up coming back and tweaking it here and there to the point where it would actually probably take just as long as the pen tool. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command D to deselect, and I'm just going to cut this out real quick with the pen tool. Same thing we've been doing. All right, I'm going to hit Command or Control plus. Come over here. Yeah, you can see where like these areas in here, the stem is so blurry. Like I'm going to need the pen tool for that anyway. Okay. So I'm going to hit P for pen tool, and I'll start right here, and I'm just going to do the same thing we've been doing. All right, so I'm just going to be clicking and dragging, hitting Alt Option, using my arrow keys to get a really good placement, like right now. See that? All right, I'm just going to zip around this whole thing, and I will meet you in the future. Okay, and as I'm coming around this orb here, I just wanted to stop and say that I'm going to skip this part right here. It's just so blurry that I just don't want to deal with it, so I don't think we need it. So I'm just going to get close here. All right. Come up here and hit Selection. Hit OK. There's our marching ants. And I'll come over here and select my layer mask once again, and boom, we have this cut out. Okay, so it looks like there's a spot that I kind of messed up on right there. That's okay. I want to shave off some of that green as well, and I want to fix that point. So with the layer mask selected, I will go ahead and hit B for brush. Make sure that black is my foreground color. I'm going to shrink my brush down with my left bracket, and I'm going to shave some of that off like that. Like that. There we go, something like that. That'll be just fine. Come up here and just kind of make that more of a sharp point. Something like that. Okay, let's see. I think I have a little bit too much green showing right here. I think I might increase my brush size a little bit and just come in here and just gently sweep that a little bit. We'll be using the burn tool and darkening a lot of the edges to blend this stuff anyway, but my guess is, yeah. All right, let's see where else. Right there. See how nice doing non-destructive cuts are with the layer masks are? How you can just keep going in here and using white and black and painting transparency on and off. All right. One more little sweep in there like that. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, that's looking good. think maybe right there it might be nice to just kind of swoop that out like that. Yeah, it's fine. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit Command or Control 0. Boom. And there is our lantern. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is come up here and hit my Move tool, or you can also select V. All right. And let's see. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command or Control minus. Zoom out. Now, with the bounding box here, if you're not seeing that, just select Show Transform Controls right here to turn that on or off, okay? And if you go up to a corner, your Move tool is going to change, okay? See that to the little rotation icon, okay? And if you can click and then rotate like that. All right, so let's see here. Something like that. And then I'm going to come up to a corner and click and drag and shrink it down a bit. All right. Quite a bit more. So, all right, that's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and hit return or enter. You can also just come up here and hit the checkbox. And then let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag the lady slipper here. All right, and I'll pull that down below leaf boat front. All right, so that way the stem is inside the boat here. And let's see. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command Control Plus, zoom up here. And I'm going to make this a bit smaller still. Let's see. Maybe something like that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that should do. That's probably a good size. Actually, I'll make it a little bit smaller. Okay. Yeah. Okay, there we go. I like that. That's good enough. Okay, we can always adjust it later. Okay, I'll go ahead and hit the check mark here and commit to that. I'm going to turn off my Show Transform Controls bounding box there and zoom out a little bit. Okay, there we go. Let's see. I might move my lady slipper over a tad here, like so. All right. Okay, here's where things get fun. So I'm going to come down here to my leaf boat background layer, make sure that is selected. All right. I'm going to hit Command or Control G and put that in a group. Okay, see how I put it inside that folder? I'm going to go ahead and double click on that title, and I'm going to give that the same title again. We'll call that Leaf Boat BG. That way, when we close this up, okay, we can still see what this is, and also some of these we'll be adding several layers to, and so it's going to be really organized to have everything in their own separate group. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this up again. I'm going to select that leaf boat background image. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an adjustment layer. So I'll come down here to this circle in between the layer mask icon and the folder right here and click on that, and then I'm going to select levels. For this first one here, let's see, I'm going to grab this white triangle on the right hand side over here in the layers property panel, and I'm going to move that over like so. Okay, just to darken it up a bit. Yeah, just like that, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and come down here to the leaf boat background folder, close that up by clicking that little arrow right there, okay? And we'll move on to the next one. Now, with the leaf boat one, I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to hit Command or Control G and put that in a group. Okay, with the leaf boat layer selected, I'm going to come down here and again select levels, okay? So I'm going to select levels adjustment layer. Okay, and now I'm going to come up here to this little icon right here, and I'm going to click on that, and then what that's going to do is that's going to clip this adjustment to this layer, which means that the levels layer here, the levels effect will only affect the layer directly below it. Okay, so with the levels layer selected, I'll come up here to the levels property panel and I will click on this icon right here and clip it. See how it moved the thumbnail over and it gave me that little downward facing arrow right here? Yep, that's exactly what we want to do. Okay, now I'm not going to do any changes yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and select, let's see, I'm going to create a new layer inside of this group. And so right here, this little square with the plus symbol, if I click on that, that creates a new blank layer. Okay, now I'm going to come up to my top menu here and select Edit, Fill. I want to make sure that this is set to 50% gray. All right, and these settings right here are fine, so I'm just going to leave all those and I'll just hit OK. All right, so you can see what it did, right? It gave us this 50% gray fill on this layer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this so that the 50% fill layer is only covering the leaf boat layer. Okay, so I'm going to take and in between the layer and the levels layer here, if I hold down Alt or Option, you see how my cursor changes to that same clip symbol? Yeah, so all you have to do is hover in between the two layers, hold down Alt or Option, and then click. And it clipped it. Okay, let me go ahead and turn off all the layers above it, and you can see what happened. See that? Okay, let me go ahead and unclip that for a second. I'm gonna do the same thing again, hover in between the two layers, hold down Alt or Option, and click. So here's our layer with 50% gray fill. I'm going to hover in between the two layers here, between my fill layer and my levels layer here. Hold down Alt or Option to get my clipping symbol here, and clip. Now it's only affecting the leaf boat layer. All right. So now what I'm going to do is with the layer selected here, come up to my blending modes right here and come down and change that to overlay. So now we can't see the 50% gray fill. But what we can do now is use our burn and dodge tools and paint brightness and darkness on our 50% gray fill layer, and that will affect our leaf boat layer. So this is a fantastic non-destructive way to paint on lights and shadows. Okay, so I have a levels layer that's clipped. I have a 50% gray fill layer that is clipped, and those are inside of this group. I'm going to close the group, double click on the title, and we'll name this leaf boat. Okay, now I am going to repeat what I just did for the leaf boat group here, okay, for each one of these layers. Okay, so I'll go ahead and turn on all my other layers here, like so. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this exact same process for these other layers. I'm going to put each layer in a group. I'm going to add a levels adjustment layer and clip it to that layer. I'm going to add a layer with a 50% gray fill and clip that to the levels layer. And then I'm going to rename that folder so that it matches the name of each one of our layers here, okay? It's the same exact process, so just repeat the process you just did here for these other layers, and I'll meet you in the future. Okay, there we go. So you can see how nice and organized this is, and each one of these layers, just like we did the leaf boat one together, right, where we have levels and a layer with 50% gray, both of these are clipped to our image. Each one of these layers has that same exact setup, all right? And the beauty of this is that not only is it very organized, but we can actually go in and adjust the levels and the brightness and darkness of each one of our layers separately. And it's going to give us a lot of control as we start to really work with lights and shadows. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my leaf boat layer here, and let's make some adjustments. So I'm going to go ahead and select my levels layer here, and as you can see, that opens up my levels property panel here. And I'm going to go ahead and again grab the triangle right here on the right hand side and just kind of bring that in a bit. And as you can see, that's adjusting the back of the boat. All right, and I'll just bring it down some like so. Okay, now I'll bring it down a little bit more. Okay, now notice when we created this layer, it gave us a layer mask. All right, so I can go ahead and hit B for brush. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here by hitting Command or Control plus a little bit. All right, and I'll hit my right bracket and kind of increase the size. Now, this is clipped on here. This is pretty cool. So any effects that I do on here are only going to affect the shape of the boat. All right, it's pretty nice. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, let's see, this is kind of counterintuitive because we just made everything dark, right? All right, by turning our levels down like this. But I'm going to be working with the mask now, so if I want to brighten up areas, I actually use my black brush because I'm on the layer mask, and remember, black paints on transparency, which will then be making parts of the levels effect transparent. I don't want a 100% opacity brush, okay? I don't want it fully opaque. I want to turn this down. Oh, there's like, I don't know, maybe around 30. Looks like I'm at 34%. just so it's a little forgiving, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint in a few areas like this. And what I'm doing is I'm thinking about where light from this lantern is going to be falling, okay? So we're going to make this glow, okay? And it's going to be giving off light. So as far as the back of the boat goes, it's going to be hitting right here for sure. And so I just kind of lightened that area up right there. Let's see, probably lightening up a little bit of the top like so. All right, yeah. We can come back and make some adjustments again. Now I'll come up here to the layer above it. That is the 50% gray fill layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my dodge tool, okay? And I'm going to be using this a lot. And if you hit O, it'll select the tool. And if you hold down Shift and keep hitting O, it'll toggle through the different tools, okay? So this is the dodge tool. This is the burn tool. And those are the two we're going to be using, is dodge and burn, all right? And then the other one here, the sponge tool, we're not going to be working with that, okay? Because that's to saturate and desaturate, and I'm not going to be using that on this 50% gray fill layer. I'm going to be using the dodge though. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and increase my brush size, and I'll just brighten this up a little bit like so, all right? Yes, and maybe a little bit on the top right here like that. All right. Yeah, and kind of soften that up. I'm going to kind of blend that in. We'll come back and do a lot of blending on this as we go. And for now, that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and close that up. Okay, so that's good enough for that part for now. I'm going to come up to the, we'll do the boat rider next. Okay, so open up that. And again, we'll come to our levels layer here. I'm going to select that, and we'll do the same thing where we're pulling down the brightness. Okay, we're going to crush the whites down like this. Something like that for now. Sure, that'll work. Okay, now let's see here. I will go ahead and select B for brush. Make sure that my layer mask is selected. Turn the opacity down. Okay, now I'm at 24. I just want, the lower the opacity, the more forgiving this will be. You'll just have to hit it more times, okay, which I think is a little bit better. And let's see here. We know for sure, because this is going to be glowing, so I'm going to brighten up the face on that side, like so. All right. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and shrink the brush down. Command plus to zoom in. This whole side will actually be brighter like that. So I'm just going to kind of make that brighter. The hand's sticking out, so that's going to catch the light for sure. That'll work for now. I'm going to go to the 50% fill layer here. Okay. And I'm going to hit O. All right, there we go. And I'm going to, first we'll use the dodge tool here. Okay, and let's see. With the dodge tool selected, I'm going to turn the exposure down. Let's see, 27. Okay, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just brighten up this side of the face a bit. A little bit on that shoulder, that hand right there. Okay, that's looking good. And now I'm going to hold down Shift and hit O and change the burn tool. I'm going to turn down the exposure on the burn tool as well. Looks like I'm at 20. And we're going to kind of burn this side a bit darker, like so. Yeah, just make it a little bit darker on the bottom, kind of like that. Just thinking about where light's going to be hitting. All right, that should work for now. And let's move on to the next one. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and come up here to the lady slipper. So the lady slipper, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and open up that group. And with the levels here, I'm going to do that same thing and just pull the levels, darken the image up quite a bit, like so. Okay, that's looking good right there. All right, so I'm going to select the layer above it, the 50% gray fill. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my dodge tool selected. I'm going to press Command plus and zoom in here. I'm going to do left bracket and just make my brush really small. And the first thing that I want to do before I brighten up this orb is I'm going to, in fact, I'm going to turn my exposure up a little bit. I will do like 30, 33. All right, I'm just going to draw along these veins and just burn them a bit darker. All right, like that. The reason why I'm doing that is when I brighten up this orb, we'll actually, I'm going to bring my brush size down a little bit for this part. We're going to lose those veins if I don't darken them now. All right, so just kind of run along them like so, something like that. A little bigger, that'll work. Yeah, this one as well. It might look a little weird at the moment, but as soon as I start making this orb really bright, yeah, it'll just wash out these really cool designs in here, and I just think they look neat. All right, so I'm going to kind of try and retain a little bit of that. Okay, and you'll see what I mean here as I switch over, let's see, to the levels here, and I select the layer mask, select my brush tool, make sure that the foreground is black. All right, and let's see, for the opacity, I'll actually keep that at 24. I don't want to completely remove it. I just want to actually lighten it up a little bit. And again, I have made the entire layer darker by darkening here with the levels. So painting with foreground here as black is going to paint a bit of transparency on. See how it's going to brighten that up a little bit? Yeah, just like that. All right. All right, and while I'm here, let's think about this. You know, I think the image will be so dark that this will be fine. Maybe I'll just a little bit along there. I think some light will be catching that. There we go. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so now I'm going to come up to my 50% gray fill here, and then I'm going to hit O, and it looks like my burn tool is selected, so I'm going to select the dodge tool. Again, you can just hit Shift O to toggle to that particular tool. And then what I'm going to do is, let's see, exposure 27. Yeah, that'll work for now. I'm going to brighten this up. Okay, you can see how it's actually already washing out those veins. See that? Yeah, and so I just wanted to darken them first a little bit just to retain that a bit. Okay, and it looks like I could use a little bit of blur in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and select my blur tool. That's that little drop shape right there. And let's see, strength 50%, that'll work. And then I'm actually going to select the actual lady slipper layer, make sure that the thumbnail image is selected, and I'm just going to kind of blur this a little bit in there. All right, like so. Soften that up a touch, like that. Oh yeah, this is going to look awesome. Okay, yeah, that's good, that's good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this up for now. Actually, no, let's talk about the stem a little bit more. So right here we made brighter. I think down here we'll probably just make a bit darker. So I'm going to go ahead and select my burn tool again by selecting O and then Shift O. And let's see, just going to kind of darken that up a little bit on the bottom. Yep. And maybe a little bit underneath, okay, because the light's going to be hitting right here, like so. Yeah, there we go. Looking good. As far as the leaves go, let me zoom out by hit Command or Control minus. Let's see. Probably a little bit darker over here. I can kind of darken up those green areas there that maybe could have been cut out a little better, like that. Yeah, exactly, right there. Here we go. Looking good. And then probably darken up right there a little bit. All right. I think that's good. That's good for now. Right here as well. Okay. And we'll come back to this. Let's move on. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the lady slipper, and we'll come up to the leaf boat front. All right, leaf boat front. So we'll do that same thing again where we'll open up the levels, and I'm going to just pull that down a bit just to kind of darken it, like so. Yeah, maybe darken it quite a bit. This is going to be a nighttime scene, all right? So what we'll do is we'll just make parts of it glow, okay? And speaking of, let's talk about that. So this is going to be glowing. It's going to be sending light down inside of the boat. So it'd be kind of cool to like make it kind of glow in here. We can see some of these veins and stuff like that. That'd be nice. So I'll go ahead and hit B for brush. Make sure that black is selected. Make sure my layer mask on my levels adjustment layer is selected. Increase my brush size a bit, and see, opacity 24, that'll work. It's going to kind of lighten these areas up just like that right now, okay? Yeah, exactly. Where else? Oh, I suppose right there I'll be getting hit with the light. I think this side will probably be getting hit with the light pretty well. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, now I'll go to the 50% gray fill layer that is clipped to my leaf boat front. I will hit O, and it looks like my burn tool is selected. We'll use the burn tool first, I guess. What I want to do is I want to darken up the edges here, okay? So I'll kind of go like that and just darken up the edges a little bit, like so, okay? Because they're not going to be as defined once it's dark. Okay, this side will, anywhere where the light's hitting, but down below the boat, I don't think so. And we'll leave all of this. Actually, I want some of these, like the reflection and the seaweed and stuff to show through right here. I think that will look really cool. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'll hold down Shift and hit O twice so that I get to my dodge tool. Okay, you can see the dodge tool is selected. All right, and then I'm going to just dodge the areas that I know I really want to be glowing, like that in there. Definitely under here, okay? And then right around there, yeah, kind of hit right there. Yeah, and I like moving between the dodge and the levels quite a bit. I think it gives me a lot of control, and that's going to really, really, I think, help sell it and make it look like it's glowing. Okay, that's good for now. That's good for now. Then let's go ahead and take a look at the moss rocks up here. All right. Moss rocks, we're going to do that same thing again. We'll kind of darken this up. And, it kind of seems like I'm doing the same thing to every one, but having these all separate with their own layers, once we have the lights going and I'm able to go through all these different folders and fine tune each element in here, like I'm telling you, separating out all of your layers and clipping effects to the individual layers is such a nice way to go. And then, of course, at the end, we'll throw some global layers on there to affect the overall lighting and color tinting of the entire composition. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna bring that down a bit more, actually, like so. Okay, perfect. That is good. All right, so let's see. With the 50% fill layer, we got the burn tool or the dodge tool selected right now. That's cool. I'll go ahead and brighten up this area a bit. Okay, like so. And I'm going to actually switch to the the burn tool, and we'll go ahead and darken around, like around here for sure, and then around here where the rocks here are meeting the water, just so they kind of blend a little better. And then over here for sure, just darken that up. Okay, like so. Yeah, really, in the end, I'm just going to kind of want this part to be catching light and a little bit of this leaf. Probably not so much over here, actually. Definitely not this corner. We'll be throwing a whole vignette on the whole thing anyway as we are done. Oh yeah, just like that. Okay, looking good, looking good. So let's go ahead and deal with this one now. I'm going to go ahead and close that up. Okay, open up this one. Whoops, looks like the title here got spelled wrong. Let me go ahead and fix that. This is our mushy moss layer. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up this one. We're going to bring the levels way down on this. Okay, like that. Totally. Nice and dark. And let's see. Right off the bat, though, I'm going to want those mushrooms sticking out a little bit. So I'll go ahead and hit B for brush. Opacity, we'll just keep that at, it looks like at 43. That's fine, because I'm going to actually brighten those mushrooms up like that. See that? Oh, yeah. And again, we're going to make these glow or make them magic somehow. It's going to be kind of cool. I'm going to turn the opacity down a touch and just right around here kind of fill that in like that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then I'll come up here to the 50% gray fill. I will hit O, and I have my burn tool selected, which is great. I'm going to hit Command or Control minus, and then I'm going to just darken up the edges like this, all right, around here. So you really darken up the whole thing like that. All right, but again, the light's going to be coming from over here. It's going to be hitting right there. Yeah, so kind of darken all that up like so. All right, close this up like that. See how nice and organized this is? I mean, we have a ton of layers here, but everything is very manageable right now. Let's go ahead and make the lady slipper reflection right now. Okay, so I've got the lady slipper layer selected. All right, I am going to hit Command or Control J and duplicate that layer. Okay, I'll go ahead and pull that one by clicking and dragging and pull it down. Now, when you're dragging groups, be careful because you can actually drop a group inside another group. So notice, like right now, I have the blue bounding box around the whole layer, but if I move it a little further, I just get one blue line. Okay, that's what I want. I'm going to drop that. That way I don't drop this group inside that group. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and double click on this title, and let's see, we'll go ahead and call this Lady Slipper Reflection. Okay. Okay, now come up here to Edit, Transform, okay, Flip Vertical. All right, now it's upside down. Okay, it's behind here, so we can't see it. So what I'll do is I'm going to select my Move tool. You can also just hit V to select your Move tool. All right, Auto Select is off, okay, and that's key right now because if you have it on and you click right here, you're going to select the boat instead. So I'm going to make sure that Auto Select is not checked, okay, and now I can move this down to where it goes. Okay. And I think we'll move it. Oh, now I'm going to move it all the way to the bottom like that, okay? Yep, something like that. Okay, that is looking good. All right. So let's see here. There's a few things that we need to deal with. The first off is I want to blur this, okay? And what I want to do is I want to blur it with smart filters. So I'm going to go ahead and hover over the Lady Slipper reflection layer and right click and then convert to a smart object. Okay, you can see now it's changed, and now what this is a smart object, okay? And what I'm going to do is come down here and select layer mask and just add a layer mask to that right now, and then I'll hit B for brush, make sure black is my foreground, and let's see, I'll shrink this down, turn my opacity all the way up to 100%, and I'm going to erase this part of the stem because the reflection is going to be happening around here, right? So we're not going to be seeing this part of the stem at all because here's the boat reflection right here. So something like that, that'll work. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the smart object layer here. Okay, that's not the layer mask, but the smart object layer here. I'll come up here to Filter, Blur, and then I'm going to select Gaussian Blur. Okay. Now let's see, I'll go ahead and bring this up and kind of choose how blurry I want this to be. Probably something like that. Let's see, I'm at 37.4 and something like that. That'll work. That'll be just fine. And then I'll hit OK. All right. So looking good. Okay, so what I'll do is, you know what, just to clean this up, I'm going to go ahead and put this Lady Slipper Reflection Smart Object in another group. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command G, put it in a group. And then I'll close that up, double click on that title, and again, we'll just call this Lady Slipper Reflection. All right, okay, that's nice and organized. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is come here to our Catabear, that is our boat rider, and I'm going to select my 50% gray fill, all right? I'm going to hit Command plus a bunch of times here. And, oh yeah, I can see there's some area right there. See that line? We're going to have to fix that. Okay. Anyway, let's come up here, though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom way in on these eyes. All right. I'm going to, let's see, I'll hit O. And then I'm going to hit Shift-O and make sure that I have the Dodge tool selected. And I'm going to go ahead and hit my left bracket and really bring my brush size down. All right. I'm going to zoom in here a bit more. Like so. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lighten up the eyes. Okay, let's see where we're at. Exposure 27. Oh, exposure 79. So anything like that. Just a really nice strong one. That's going to just brighten up the eyes like that. All right. Going to really make them pop. Like so. Especially the white parts here. Okay. All right. Like so. Yes. That should do it. Yeah, okay, just really, because like the light's going to be hitting them, it's just going to really, yeah, that looks cool. Okay, let's see. What else? I can tell already I'm going to want this side darker for sure, but I think what we'll do is we'll actually do some global lightings first and see where we're at. Okay, speaking of, I think that will really kind of help with the overall vision here. If I create, let's see. I'm going to come down here and I'll select curves, all right? All right, so we're going to create a new adjustment layer. And this time we're not going to clip it, okay? This is going to be a global adjustment. I'll show you what I mean. I can blow it way up and it's affecting every layer, or I can bring it way down. All right, see that? You see what's happening? Oh yeah, like you can see already what we're doing, okay? This is nice. Okay, so that's the first global setting. And again, this is non-destructive, so we'll probably move these around. I'm going to do another one now, and we are going to select Hue and Saturation. And even though all these colors are really nice, they're simply not going to be there at night. Okay, so I'm actually going to pull the saturation down a bit. Just make it a bit gray. Okay, the reason why I'm doing that is this orb is going to be glowing with this awesome golden light, and so the only real color filter in here is going to be the golden light. All right, so I have to get rid of all of these daytime colors. All right, so I'm going to just pull those down like that. It might be a tad too dark, so I might pull that up a little bit for now. Yeah, or, you know, the other thing I can do is pull it down like so. Okay, and then make sure that the layer mask is selected on the curves layer here. Select B for brush. Make sure black is selected. Turn the opacity down like, oh, I'm at 28%. All right, and I might just come in here again and just hit some of the areas like so. Okay, that I know I really want to jump out. And then I want to actually go like this in the water and open that up because I like seeing like the debris in the water and then the little reflections here. Okay, and then speaking of, let's check that side again. Okay, you can see how this side right here of whoops, let me change to my move tool by hitting V. See how the side right here has kind of got that outline. Okay, that is going to be, let's see, which layer is that? It's probably this layer right here. All right, so let's go ahead and check that out. Yeah, it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select the levels here, and we'll bring that down a bit more like so. All right, and then I think what I'll do is I'll actually throw a 50% fill on that as well. So I'll open up a new layer. Okay, come up here to fill, 50% gray fill, select that. Okay, all right, there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and change that to overlay mode. All right, and then I'm going to hit O. Hit O twice so that I have my burn tool, and then I'm going to just kind of burn that edge. Yeah, see that how it's getting rid of that little glowing outline right there? There we go. All right, let's kind of see if there's anywhere else I could use that while we're at it. Yeah, that's probably good for now. Let's close that up. Yeah, this is looking awesome. Okay, you know, it already looks cool. Okay, but it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be fun making everything glow. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save this now. Okay, so let's go ahead and, I'm going to create another layer real quick. So I'm going to come down here and hit that square with the plus sign, create a new layer. All right, I'm going to hit X to make sure that black is my foreground. By the way, if you have different colors here, like I'll just make this red for now, okay? And I'll go ahead and make this one, you know, green. See how I have my foreground and background colors here? You can just hit this little icon right here, the smaller squares, and that will give you your default colors. You can also just hit D, all right, and that gives you white and black. All right, now with my foreground color set to black, I am going to hold down Alt or Option and hit Delete and just cover this whole area with black. Now I'm going to come over here and turn my opacity down on the layer like that. All right. I'm going to put a layer mask on it by selecting my layer mask icon. I'm going to hit B for brush. All right, make sure black is my foreground. I can turn the opacity up quite a bit. Okay, and I'm going to just reclaim the area that I just lost. And that's just going to give me one more layer of nighttime shadow on here. All right, that I can really control. All right. Like so, and that's also giving me my vignette, which is nice too. Okay, yeah, just something like that. And what's nice about that is then as I can go through and control the darkness of the scene as I'm adjusting things. And I love to just have everything separate like this. I think it gives me a lot of control, and I really think thinking about where light falls is so key in Photoshop. Okay, so kind of think that my boat rider here could be a bit darker, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in there right now. Go to the levels layer here, darken that up like so. Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, yep, loving that. Okay, so let's go ahead and, well, let's make our glowing orb. So I will create a new layer. There we go. And let's see, I'll hit B for brush. I'm going to go ahead and make the brush a bit smaller. About that big. Okay, that's what we'll start out with there. And I'm going to come over here to my foreground color, and we'll make that like a nice orange color. Something like that. You know, I'm just kind of winging this and just eyeballing it. If you want to follow along exactly, I am using the hex number here is FF9600. Okay? All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come up here. I'm going to turn the opacity all the way up. Yeah, I think that's just fine. All right. I'm going to just put a circle right here like so. Yep. And that's it. Actually, that's all we're going to do. All right, so now I'm going to come over here to my blending modes. I'm going to change that to lighten, okay? And then I'm going to come over here to my opacity. I'm going to turn that down to like 20% probably, 25%, something like that. I'm at 26%. Okay. Just to get an initial glow here, I just selected my move tool. You can hit V or just select your move tool up here. I'm just going to, so I can move this around now like so. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I think I want it to be a little bit brighter though. So I'm going to go ahead and hit B for brush again. Turn the opacity down a bit, like maybe 50%. And just put another one on there like that. Yeah, there we go. All right, and it's not super intense because again, we have our opacity down over here and lighten. Okay, that's looking good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that layer is selected. I'll go ahead and click on that right now. We'll just call this Lantern Glow. Lantern Glow. All right, now I'm going to hit Command or Control J and duplicate that. And then I'm going to hit V for Move Tool, or you can just select it right up here. And move this down right there like that. This one's not going to be as bright as the one up here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the opacity down quite a bit. Just need that glow on a little bit like that. There we go. All right, all right. Now I'm going to come down here and select a new layer, okay, or create a new layer. So there we go. I've got a new layer, and we'll just call this one Glow. Okay. I'm going to hit B for brush. I'm going to turn the opacity all the way up to 100%. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paint on everywhere where I want orange glow. All right, so I know I'm going to want it around here, definitely around here, definitely on these rocks. Let's see, probably, honestly, just kind of around the water some too, like that. Yep, yep. Probably some on these mushrooms right there, a little bit up there. It's looking, yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine. And maybe we'll just kind of go like that as well. All right, and then kind of down here like that. Sure, why not? Okay, now with that layer selected, we're going to come up here to Filter, Blur, Box Blur. All right, we are really going to blur this out. Something like that. Yeah. That's probably good. Yeah, that's probably good. Okay, and then let's see. Okay, so I'll come over to my blending modes and probably overlay. Yeah, overlay, that's going to work. All right, I'm going to pull the opacity down too. So just adjust the opacity right here down quite a bit, like so. See how that just gave everything like a bit of an orange tint? Oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, this is looking good already. All right, this is so much fun. Okay, so there's a few things that are sticking out. The boat still looks a little bit too bright in the bottom. I mean, this is kind of a soft glow, so I don't think this side will be glowing quite as much. Yeah, and then some of this light reflection here, it's just kind of the wrong color, and it's a little too bright. So I can come down here to this layer, okay? Oh, and you know what? Just to keep things organized, let's go ahead and call this one dark. Okay, we'll just call this our dark layer. And remember how we basically made that like that vignette around it? I'm going to actually paint some of that back in. So, and here's where things get weird again. If I'm going to make this area darker, but it's on a black fill solid layer and I'm working with the layer mask, I actually want the foreground to be white. So make sure your foreground is white. I don't want 100% opacity up here. I'm thinking like 20%. Actually, let's do like 16. Okay, we're going to do it soft, all right? I might have to hit it more times, but it's going to be more forgiving. All right, I'm just going to kind of darken this area up, darken the side of the boat up some, like that. Darken, I'm going to shrink my brush down, darken up this area right here. That reflection area in there is not really working. Okay, yeah, like that. Probably have to darken. I really love the way how you can see into the water, but I think I need to darken this up some. All right, like that. Yeah, and then I think the let's see, the lantern glow here, we should actually call this lantern reflection glow. I'm going to pull the opacity down a bit more on that. So yeah, something like that. Actually, a little bit more there. There we go. There we go. Okay, and let's see here. Back to my dark layer here. I'm going to kind of darken up over here a bit more. A little bit more over there. That's a bit too bright. There we go. I'm going to leave those mushrooms for the most part. Darken them a touch. Something like that. Yeah, I think this could probably be a bit darker too. I love the way it looks, but yeah, that's looking pretty good. It's okay. I'm gonna do one kind of dark swoop along the bottom. I don't want to ruin this too much down here, because I like how you can see how the boat's kind of under the water, but maybe that's not quite right for how dark it is. Okay, and I think just to add a little bit more magic to the piece, what I want to do now is I want to make these mushrooms kind of glow a bit. All right, so let me come down here to the mushy moss layer, open that up, and I'm going to select the 50% fill layer here. All right, I'm going to Command plus and really zoom in here and get underneath here, kind of deal with these gills a little bit. I'm going to hit O, and looks like my burn tool is selected. I'm going to hold down Shift and get to my dodge tool. Okay, so the dodge tool is selected. All right, I'm going to increase my brush size. All right, and just kind of get those gills a little bit brighter. Okay, like that. Yeah, there we go. All right. Whoops, I'm going to hit Command or Control Z and undo. I didn't mean to get the top quite that bright. Just kind of like bringing those gills out a bit like that, though. I think that looks really cool. All right. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to actually switch to the dodge or the burn tool now and just kind of darken up the edge a little bit just to make it blend a little bit more. Yeah, like that. Just where it's cut out, I kind of think this softens the cut a bit. All right, kind of helps it sell like so. I think it'd be a little bit darker over here. Okay, it's because these are kind of at an angle, so kind of go like that. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Now, oh yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna make like a little bit of green glow coming out of the mushrooms, just like a little green cloud, and then we'll put some like little sparkles on here, like spores, and that'll actually like, so like the spores are like falling out of the mushroom, and then they're going to be like floating in the water, so we can have like little green sparkles. Okay, right? Totally. Okay, so up here on top, I'm going to create a new layer. Okay, and let's see, we'll call this one green glow. Green glow. And I'll select a green color. All right, it's just, I don't know, maybe kind of do like a bluish green, I think. Yeah, I don't know. So the hex number I'm using is 00D26D if you want to follow, or maybe you want to make yours a different color. I think I'll make mine a little bit bluer. Okay, 00D28F. There we go. I'm going to hit OK. Let's see, I'll hit B for brush. Nice big brush like that. And we'll just kind of do a big sloppy, something like that. Yeah, all right. And looks like we need some to come up here as well. Oh, okay, and then I'm going to come up here to Filter, Blur, Box Blur. All right, and just kind of blur it out a bit more. Yeah. Something like that. Okay, I'm at 298. I'm going to hit OK. All right, and then I'll come down here and we'll create a layer mask. All right, I'm going to make sure that black is my foreground color and that my brush is selected. I'm going to bring the brush down and let's see. You know what? I'm going to turn the opacity down a bit to soften this some and just get rid of the green up on top of the mushrooms. All right, like that. Yeah. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a really big brush so that my feathered edge, because the hardness is turned all the way down, is really extreme, and just kind of come back here and see how I'm just starting to kind of like bring in that green a bit. Yeah, like so. Like so. Okay. That's looking great. Now I'm going to come to my opacity and turn the opacity way, way down on it. I just want a little hint. Something like that. There we go. Let's zoom out here. That's it's actually a little bit too extreme still. Turn that down to not that low. Yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe something like, I'm at 32. Okay, that'll work for now. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Okay, yeah, fun. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here. Check it out. So I have this gravel image right here. Just took a picture of the road by my house. And the reason why I moved this to a different layer is because I'm going to create a brush out of this texture, okay? And you can, in order to define a brush, I have to have an image that's 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels or smaller, okay? And this image right here, if I hold down Alt Control or Option Command and hit I, it opens up my image size here, and you can see that this image is over 5000 pixels wide, okay? So I wanted to keep this as a really big image, and so I can't actually define a brush pattern here with an image this big. Photoshop won't let me. And so what I want to do is, this one is the same size actually, so I'm going to go ahead and change the size of this image. So I'm going to hold down Option, Command and hit I, or Alt Control and hit I. And then I'm going to go ahead and just make this 2500 pixels wide and hit OK. Okay, so I made it a bit smaller. I can hit Command or Control plus and kind of bring it up here again. So let's see here. What I'm going to do is I'll come up here to Image, Adjustments, and select Threshold. All right, and now I'm going to move it until we just get these little points here. Okay, this is a great way to make stars too, by the way. Something like that should work. A little bit more, maybe. Yeah. I should do a little bit more because I'm sure I'll be masking and deleting some of it. That'll be good. Okay, so go ahead and accept that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert this image. Okay, so I'm going to hold down Command or Control and hit I. Okay, that is looking good. So let's see here. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select D and then X to make sure that my foreground color is white. And then some of these bigger spots that are just kind of, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have 100% opacity. I'm going to just paint in some of these bigger spots right here because they're not really going to look like spores. And there we go, like so. And also these bigger ones, when they're not like nice little spots, you're going to be able to tell that the pattern's repeating a lot more if you use those. So yeah, that's looking good. That's looking good. Okay, so now what I will do is I'm going to come up here to Edit, Define Brush Preset. And we'll go ahead and call this Mushroom Spores. All right, so now I have a brush preset. How cool is that, right? All right, so now that I have a brush preset defined, I can, let's see, I'm going to hit V for Move Tool so that I'm not using that crazy brush for a moment. Come in here, and I can adjust the color and have any color brush I want using all of those spots. All right, so we'll come back over here. I'm going to hit B for Brush, and look what I have now. Isn't this cool? All right, so I'm going to create a new layer. So come down here again and hit that square with the plus sign. All right. And then let's see, I'm going to go ahead and just, I'll zoom out a little bit. That's Command Control minus. And I'm just going to tap, tap, tap. And then I think what I'll do is over here, I'm going to do a few more taps and I'm moving around to try and stop the pattern from looking like it's repeating. Another thing you can do is open up your panel and turn the position like so. See that? All right. All right. And that way it just doesn't look like it's such a repeating pattern. Something like that should work. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Maybe I'll go over here once. Okay, now I'm going to create a layer mask on this layer. Okay, oh, let's actually rename this to Spores. There we go. And then I put a layer mask on it. And I'll come up here to my brush panel, and I'm just going to select a nice soft round brush again. Make sure that the hardness is set to 0. Let's see. First off, I want opacity to 100%. And I know I'm going to paint away the ones over here. I don't want any over here. I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. I really don't want any showing in front of the boat. That's not really going to work. Yeah, and then I don't want any on the shore up here. Okay, great. Now I'm going to turn the brush down to like, oh, I got 30% here. Okay, and now I'm just going to hit some of these areas where I want it to be fainter with a 30% brush, like so. And I'll turn the opacity down. Looks like I got 8%. All right, and just kind of soften it a little bit around so that it's really only super dark coming out of this area right here. All right, that's looking pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is, it's too intense. I'll bring the opacity of it down quite a bit. I'm at 57% there. I'm going to bring the glow down here a little bit too. Something like that. Yeah, just want like a little bit more magic in the shot. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look. All right, that's looking good. I think I'm going to bring the spores down a little bit more. 57's not quite cutting it. Maybe, there we go, I'm at 42. All right, things are looking so good now. Let's see here. You know, looking at our boat rider, I think maybe I want to add a little bit more shadow around here. Yeah, so let's see here. We're getting a lot of layers here. Down to the Catabear layer, I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to select the 50% gray fill. And then I will hit O, and yep, burn. Exposure, I'll turn exposure up to 45. I'm going to hit my bracket, and can hit my right bracket, and just darken this area in just a little bit more on that side. Yes, maybe a little bit underneath the hand, a little bit over there. That's looking pretty good right there. There. All right. And then let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and hit F twice. There we go. And then I'm going to hit Command 0. All right. There we go. Let's take a look. Nice. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about this. Well, thanks for hanging out, everyone. I'll catch you next time. Thanks.